Hi everybody, I'm Andrew Locke. Welcome to Gaffer and Gear. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at some Kupo grips equipment. Now, my apologies, a lot of you were expecting this episode to be on Kupo stands, but due to some rental mishaps, the Kupo stands aren't here. What happened is on Friday, I had about 5 or 6 rental clients come in, and I have an arrangement with them where if I'm not here and my fiance's let them in, they can grab any equipment off the shelves that they want to add to their order, and we'll sort it out later. But unfortunately, they didn't realize that all the Kupo stands were in here for a gear review and were not meant to be rented out. So today's episode will be on the grips instead. All right, so let's start off having a look at their clamps. We'll have a look at this. This is called their Super Versa clamp, 9-inch. So it's pretty much a Cardellini clamp. So other brands have similar clamps, usually called Cardellinis, Mathelinis, all sorts of different names, but pretty much the same concept. So if you're not familiar with this sort of clamp, I'll very quickly run you through what it can do. So what's good about these clamps is they can fit scaff pipe or speed rail. So you can clamp onto your pipes. So that's very handy. But where these have a huge advantage over clamps that mount only to pipes is because the jaws spread out this way, you can mount them to larger objects or objects that are square or rectangular. So I'll just put that over, and there we go. So very handy for mounting onto shelves. Now, where this has a big point of difference to, say, your regular Cardellini clamp is this has a baby pin receiver in this end. All right, so, for example, let's say this is a shelf and I want to mount a articulated arm, something like this, and I want to have a light on it so I can position it. If I was using a super clamp to mount that arm to, it won't mount onto a piece of lumber this size, but this will. So that's really handy. And what I like about the receiver here is it has a safety catch. Right, so where this is also handy is you can mount your light at this end, which is what the receiver here is for, or the stud there is for. You can mount to this end, and you could have a grip head and a boom arm coming out off the bottom for a flag. So you could do that all off the same stand. So having a look at this, I'm pretty impressed with the engineering and the threading. Most Chinese-made sort of Cardellini clamps, when you spin it, it doesn't turn all that easily. You've got to constantly keep turning it, but this is quite well engineered. So yeah, no problems there. It's beautifully made. It's quite solid. The only thing I can't be certain of is if the rubber will stay on. So that's one point of weakness with a lot of brands is the rubber here usually comes off, or the cork comes off. But yeah, it's a pretty solid piece of kit. I'm quite impressed with it. Even though I own must be 30 Cardellini clamps, I will buy another one of these and have one in both of my vans just for this bit, because I reckon that'll come in handy. It would have helped me a few days ago. Okay, so this sells for 109 Australian dollars. So I'm guessing that would be around the $80 US mark. So very, very cheap for the quality of what it is. All right, so next up we'll have a look at what they call their max arms. So a lot of brands have similar things to this, like they're called magic arms, variable friction arms, things like that. So this is a heavy duty version, so it doesn't have any slip points. So we'll get into that in a sec. So if you haven't seen one of these before, I'll explain what it is. So you've got an elbow joint, like on your arm. So you've got an elbow joint here, and you've got a ball and socket joint at each end. Now, everything locks from the same locking point. So all the ball and socket joints lock and the arm lock from the same point. So I'll just put this into a clamp and I'll put a light on the other end. So here's a bit of advice for new players. What I would do is I would put the light on before you adjust the arm to where you want it. That makes life a lot easier. All right, so for example, I can point the light wherever I want it to point and then lock it into place. So I've got ball and socket joint play here. I've got the arm joint movement, so I can find my position for the light. I could have it here, for example, or I could have it there, for example. So wherever I put it, let's put it here because it's nice and out of the way. At this point here, I just lock the arm and everything will stay in place. So that's sort of how it works. So they're fantastic for doing your adjustment. Okay, so let's get into the point of difference. All right, so the main point of difference is in the elbow section here, it's got teeth. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of the teeth, to be quite honest with you. I like a smoother slip for fine-tune adjustment. But the advantage the teeth have over, say, a magic arm or a variable friction arm is if I do this off lightly, so it's not done heavy, it doesn't slip, okay? It's not going to slip. So done up tight, it isn't going to move. So I can put a heavier light on this than I'd put on a regular magic arm. So that comes in handy. I'm sure all gaffers watching this have had magic arms slip, particularly when you get them a little bit further out and the leverage pulls the end down. And the other thing that's different is the spigot here, or the stud here, is a hexagon. So it's got lots of flat surfaces. So when you put it into your clamp and you screw your clamp onto it, it's not going to slide because it's screwing into a flat surface. So these sell for 156 Australian dollars. So I'm guessing that's about 100 US dollars. Now, even though I've got a lot of variable friction arms, Manfrotto or Avenger variable friction arms, I will buy another one of these just so I've got one of each in my kit, just for the fact that these won't slip. So that'll come in handy for me. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is the handle here is a ratchet handle. So if we've got a shelf or something here blocking me from rotating it, I can just reposition the handle and then move it. Okay, so the next clamp we'll have a look at from Kupo is their Super Claw. So very, very small clamp. Now this little clamp can actually hold 6 kilograms. So I'd recommend for anyone who's thinking of becoming a gaffer, a couple of little clamps like this are really handy to have in your kit. They fit in places other clamps won't fit. So for example there. All right, no worries at all. Now this can take, like I said, 6 kilograms. So how do you mount a light to it? Well, it's got dual threads on the jaws. So you get a spigot that has threads, and you just mount the spigot onto the clamp like that, and then of course mount your light to the clamp. Now, if you're mounting to, say, a magic arm or the Max arm here, they have threads in the ends. So you can mount one of these via a spigot onto the clamp. And remember, it's rated, the clamp is rated at 6 kilograms, so it would be able to take this arm and the light, no problem at all. Now, just going to give you a very, very quick hack that one of my guys came up with using one of these clamps. So we were shooting in a forest, and the cinematographer wanted us to mount a small light onto the trunk of a tree, and I didn't have any clamps that would fit the tree trunk, so I didn't know what to do. So one of my guys came up with a very cunning little plan. He got a ratchet strap, and he got one of our spigots, and he, using the ratchet strap, strapped the spigot onto the tree, and then mounted the clamp to the spigot. So, and then we mounted the light to the clamp. Very clever little hack. So the one big point of difference between these and other brands is the price. So this sells for 44 Australian dollars, 44 Australian dollars. So I'm guessing that's under 30 US dollars. Now the last bit of Kupo hardware we'll have a look at is this thing. And this is called the Super Grip Finger Baby. There's two words that shouldn't be together. Okay, so the Super Grip Finger Baby Stud and Baby Receiver. So what is this thing for? Well, you might have a light that when you put a softbox modifier on it, you can't tilt. Or you might have a light like this that when you put a Fresnel mount modifier on it, it doesn't tilt very far. So with this piece of equipment, you can put it onto your light stand. So we're going to put it onto a baby pin. Mount the light to that. And now I can tilt the light to my desired angle, and I can position it very easy and then just lock it via the locking arm. Now let's say I want a bit more stability. I want it on a better stand than a baby pin. Well, I can take the thread out here, and now I've got a junior pin mount, so I can put that into a heavier duty stand, and I've got the same control. Now where this can also come in handy is let's put the pin back in, the thread back in. Now I've got a clamp here with a stud on it. I can mount this to a clamp and it enables me some positioning and articulation. So that's a handy little clamp to have. So this thing costs, where's that, the Finger Baby swivel, 90 Australian dollars. So I'm guessing that's around 60 to 65 US dollars. Anyway, that's all the Kupo gear for this episode. See you on the next episode of Gaffer and Gear. Take care.